But, of course, for the first hour of our Friday program, our National Town Hall meeting, your opportunity to talk to a United States Senator and say whatever's on your mind. 866-987-THOM, our telephone number to give us a call. Senator Bernie Sanders with us for our Brunch with Bernie segment. His website, sanders.senate.gov. Bernie, welcome back.
Good to be with you, Tom, and welcome back to you as well. How are you feeling?
Thank you. I'm feeling better. I had the surgery, and then something went wrong, and I ended up in the ER for 4 days, and it got very messy. And, boy, I've learned more about – it was my first time ever in the hospital. I've learned more about hospitals than I ever want to know the rest of my life. But I'm getting better now.
That's not a good way to learn about healthcare, Tom.
No, it's not.
There are better ways. So I have some good books for you.
Yeah. The number one thing I learned is that get to know the nurses. They know everything. So – anyhow, a lot been going on over the last week politically in the United States. I'm curious your take on the week.
Okay, obviously there's a lot that's going on. We've had the Republican convention, and Democrats do their convention next week. I think what strikes me, Tom, is the degree to which the Republican Party has moved to the far right. You know, the Republican Party used to be what we'd call a center-moderate party. But it has really, and sadly and tragically for this country, become a right-wing extremist party. And I know in the state of Vermont, for many, many years, we had Republican governors, Republican senators, and virtually none of those guys who were kind of moderate Republicans could feel at home today in the Republican Party of 2012. I suspect that somebody like President Dwight David Eisenhower would not be accepted given his politics into the Republican Party today, has become a very right-wing party. Let me just give you some examples just to make sure that the listeners have a sense of how far to the right the Republicans have gone. The issue of abortion has been debated in this country for a very, very long time. I am strongly pro-choice. But I think what people should know in the Republican Party plank passed at this convention, what they have said is that if a woman is raped, and this is a constitutional amendment that they want to see passed. Right. If a woman is raped, she must have the rapist baby, even at the expense of her own life. No exclusions. Even if the woman is ill, she must have the rapist baby. I mean, I think that it's just very, very hard for me to understand how rational people could come up with a conclusion like that. We're talking in terms of the environment and global warming. I am on both the Environment and Energy Committees in the Senate, and we talk to scientists quite often. The overwhelming, well over 90% of scientists who have written peer-reviewed literature on global warming believe, A, global warming is real, B, that it is significantly caused by human activity, and C, that it is causing significant harm to our country and to the world right now. If the Republicans gain control of the Senate, and there is a real chance that that could happen unless we mobilize and prevent that, the gentleman who will be chairman of the Environmental Committee is Jim Inhofe, a senator from Oklahoma. Jim believes that global warming is a hoax perpetrated on the American people by Al Gore, the Hollywood elite, and the United Nations.
Wow.
This is the guy who would have oversight responsibilities for the U.S. Senate in dealing with global warming.
That is not a good thing. We just lost Senator Sanders. Do we have a backup telephone line? Looks like he's on the phone right now. Okay. I'm sorry. We've got all this wonderful technology here, but sometimes things fail, and we'll get Bernie back on the line. He was just talking about how Jim Inhofe, Senator James Inhofe, the senator from Oklahoma, would be in charge of our environment in the Senate if the Republicans take they only have to take 3 seats in the United States Senate. And this is why this election is so critically important, is so incredibly critically important. And they're redialing the telos also, right, Shane? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna get this thing working here. We're gonna get Bernie back with us. But and by the way, fact checking Mitt Romney's acceptance speech. I want to hang on just a second. Oh, we have Bernie back. Bernie, you're there?
Yep.
Oh, my apologies.
Okay.
Technology bit us.
Hey, Tom.
Okay. You were saying Jim Inhofe is going to be in charge of things, and he thinks
if the Republicans gain control over the Senate, Jim Inhofe, who believes that global warming is a hoax perpetrated on the American people by Al Gore, the Hollywood elite, and the United Nations, he will be chairman of the committee that deals with global warming in the United States Senate.
Right.
Thirdly, when you talk about right-wing extremism in the Republican Party, what these guys want to do is, at a time when we have the most unequal distribution of wealth and income of any major country, where the top 1% now owns more wealth than the bottom
90%, and the gap is growing wider. What they want to do is give huge tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, and then they want to cut back on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. This party, this right-wing extremist party, strongly supports the Citizens United Supreme Court decision, which says that a corporation is a person. I can understand why they support it, because if you look at what was happening in Tampa, they have all these billionaires coming to their convention, and we have reached the stage where, according to one study at least, we have just a handful of individuals who are prepared to spend huge amounts of money in the political process. So I guess if you're a Republican, you think that that's good, despite what it may mean to American.
Well, they put it in their
democracy.
platform that they stand behind Citizens United and that they want the rest of McCain-Feingold repealed.
Right. We have a situation today, according to one study, where 47 wealthy people, have contributed 42% of the money in this year's presidential election.
Wow.
42. So, in a sense, what you're seeing, and you saw it on display, I think, at the Republican convention, where apparently there was a yacht there for all these guys, which flew the flag of the Cayman Islands, appropriately enough, which is a huge tax haven for these guys. And you have, the Koch brothers putting $400 million into this campaign. You have Sheldon Adelson putting $100 million into this campaign. So you got multi-billionaires who say, hey, I own all kinds of companies, and now for a modest investment, think about it, I can own a good part of the United States government. Pretty good investment for them. So I think the point to be made is that anyone who thinks that this is their father's or grandmother's Republican Party is sorely mistaken. This is now a right-wing extremist party. People who want to give tax breaks to billionaires, cut back on programs for the elderly, the children, the sick and the poor, the most vulnerable people in this country. So this is an election of huge, huge consequence, and we've got to get to work and make sure that we don't end up the day after the election with Mitt Romney as president and with Republicans controlling the Senate and the House.
Yeah, and more of them to be on the Supreme Court, too, as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this, I think, is probably why there were no details in Mitt Romney's speech last night.
Well, that's right. I mean, and not only were there no specific details about what they proposed to do, because the truth of the matter is, what the economic agenda they have is nothing more than George W. Bush's old agenda, and that is more tax breaks for billionaires, more unfettered free trade so that more companies can move more quickly to China and other low-wage countries, more deregulation of Wall Street and other large corporations so that...
Hold on just a second.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
There we go. You can wrap it last 5 seconds.
I mean, that's what it is. It's the same old agenda of George W. Bush, which grotesquely failed the American people. That's what they want to bring back.
And welcome back. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour here today. And Al in Buffalo, New York, you're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
Great.
Senator?
How you doing, Al?
How you doing today?
I'm great.
I wanted to ask you, can the president use, I have two questions for you. Can the president use executive order to declare voting day a national holiday?
No, but we can pass legislation to do that, and I personally think that that's a great idea. I think in other countries around the world that exist, our goal must be to appreciate and respect democracy, make sure that people have the time to think about the issues and the candidates and vote, not just simply rush to vote at 5 o'clock after work. So I think that's a very good idea, Al.
Okay, my second question, Senator, is I was wondering if you'd be able to do a tour and in a bus and call it the independent voter's choice, and try to and nationally endorse the president and try to get some of those independent voters to.
Well, thank you. What we are going to do we may do something like that. We're going to. Right now, my campaign is working on a series of meetings in New Hampshire, which is obviously my neighboring state, and we're thinking of going to Indiana and doing some events elsewhere around the country. But I think your point is well taken. As the longest-serving independent in the history of the United States, and I thank the people of Vermont very much for allowing me to be that. I think there are a lot of independents out there who do not necessarily understand all of the facts, and I think that's something I'm tempted to do.
Leon in Heathsville, Virginia. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Yes, Leon Whitaker. It's an honor, Senator Sanders. I think I've got a handle on the Republican Party. I call them oaths, opinions without facts that start the Iraq War, and that's what they're going with now. But how can we get the facts out most effectively?
Well, Leon, that is a very important question. It's one that Thom Hartmann and I have talked about a lot, and why I so much appreciate and applaud the extraordinarily important work that Thom and other progressive radio and television people are doing. We are on talk radio outgunned. Tom, I always forget the number. Is it 10-1 in radio talk time?
Oh, it's well over 90-1.
90-1. All right, 90-1. So there are parts of the country, Leon, where when you turn on the radio, you hear one right-wing extremist after another, and you don't hear a progressive alternative. So I think working on the media, demanding that media presents both sides of the story, making sure that we have progressive talk show hosts all over this country is enormously important. The other thing that we have got to do, and what we're doing in Vermont, I'm running for re-election, we're going to do in other states, is just do a lot of door knocking. Tonight in Vermont, we're going to have a bunch of young people out knocking on doors, and just educating and organize people. We do many, many dozens and dozens of town meetings around the state talking about the important issues.
Never use a small falsehood, always a big one. And that was 1944, and President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It is our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us, taking your calls. And Paul in Leesburg, Virginia. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders, I'm a great admirer. You care about the people. My question is, and I know they've denied it, do you see continued attacks upon union members and upon federal workers? Because I feel like I'm constantly under attack for something I had nothing to do with.
Paul,
and this concerted effort to continue attacking unions, Wisconsin, Ohio, so on and so forth, is it concerted, and is it going to continue?
Well, it depends on who controls our government. If the Republicans do, it will absolutely continue. And it is a concerted effort. It's a concerted effort for a number of reasons. First of all, of what Republicans understand correctly, that in their effort to continue their attacks against working families and to cut programs that workers and the elderly and the children need so they can give more tax breaks to billionaires, the main source of opposition are the trade unions of this country. And if you break the unions, that means they can just go marching straight through to the goalposts with nobody there trying to stop them. Second of all, in terms of federal employees, let's be clear. Republicans, the right-wing Republicans of today, basically believe that we should do away over a period of time with Social Security, and if you need retirement benefits, you go to Wall Street. We should, over a period of time, do away with Medicare, make savage cuts in Medicaid, and you go to private insurance companies. They do not believe in the Environmental Protection Agency, making sure that our air or water is clean. So if you hold the view that government is an evil, that we should not be providing retirement security in terms of Social Security to the elderly, to widows and orphans, to the disabled, you are going to go after federal employees. You're going to attack the government. You're going to diminish the role and size of government. One way you do that, and they have been doing it, is putting wage freezes on federal employees, making it harder and harder for workers, federal employees to stay on their jobs, cut back on pensions for federal employees. So, Paul, it is not your imagination. There is a very concerted and direct attack against the federal government and against federal employees.
George in Chicago, listening on WCPT. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Oh, thank you very much, Tom. Glad to see you back in there swinging, and it's an honor to talk about you and the senator. I've been thinking that perhaps we do an end around the Republicans' punitive voter would be next year. The new Congress is amenable to this kind of approach. Why not propose, and perhaps you could do this, Senator, a national voter ID card that would be issued free of charge to every person when they register to vote? The technology is simple and easy. It's just like they have at the motor vehicle facilities, and it could be funded by federal money, and the states could be told, you can accept this or turn it down, but if you turn it down, you won't get any federal highway money, and the Corps of Engineers won't build any water projects in your state. I mean, this is old-fashioned nuts and bolts politics. But if every voter has a state-issued ID with a picture that says, I am a registered voter, well, then at least theoretically that would address the concerns that the Republicans are raising, and it would ensure everybody's right to vote.
George, I don't know if your solution is the right one, but you're raising a very important issue, and I hope all of the listeners understand that not only do Republicans strongly support Citizens United, which means that billionaires can buy and sell politicians and put unbelievable amounts of money into the current campaign, what they are also doing in many states where we have Republican governors and legislatures is working hard, and this is what George is talking about, in terms of voter suppression. And we've gotten some good decisions recently in Texas overturning what their governor and legislature had done. But I think everybody understands that in the name of fighting voter fraud, they are passing very punitive pieces of legislation which have the very express goal of making it harder for low-income people and older people to vote by not having photo ID. So I don't know that we have to do all that George has suggested. I think all that we have to do is enforce the Voter Rights Act and understand that, fortunately, in this country, voter fraud is not a major problem. It happens very, very infrequently. When it does happen, perpetrators should be severely punished. But our job is to encourage as many people to vote as possible, not to do what the Republicans are trying to do, is to push people off of the voting rolls and make it harder and harder for people to vote, because they perceive that the only way they're going to win elections is just to keep a lot of people from participating. I think that's a pretty cruddy approach to politics, and I think that undermines everything that any American, regardless of his or her political persuasion, should believe in terms of the political process in this country.
Bernie, one of our callers shared this statistic with me last week or the week before. He said last year 23 people were arrested and prosecuted for voter fraud. 26 people died because their televisions fell on their heads.
I mean, that is the point. Voter fraud is, in fact, a serious crime, should be punished. It is very, very infrequent in this country, and everybody knows what the Republicans have in mind. I think a few of their own people have actually spilled the beans on this.
Yeah, they have. Absolutely. It's Senator Bernie Sanders with us. I think of him as America's senator. Vermont, of course, knows he's theirs. But for today, he's all of ours, answering your questions here on the Thom Hartmann Program on our Brunch with Bernie segment. We'll be back. The man, Senator Bernie Sanders, on the line with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. And Danny in Denver, Colorado, listening on AM 760. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. I was wondering, Paul Ryan talks about saving Medicare, and I was wondering, I mean, it's all the same money. It's not like he's going to find new money, right? And so if it's the same money, how is he talking about saving other than giving you a voucher and just saying, you're on your own? I mean, if he's going to save it and save money, I mean, and it's the same money, I mean, I don't understand that math.
Well, what the math is, this is what their argument is, and they use the same argument, Danny, for Social Security as well. What they say is the only way we can save these programs is to cut these programs. And that's the only way we're going to be able to leave those programs for our kids and our grandchildren. That, unfortunately, is wrong and dishonest. In terms of Social Security, and Paul Ryan is one of those who would like to privatize Social Security and certainly supports cuts in Social Security, what we have to understand is Social Security has not contributed a nickel to the deficit because it is funded by the payroll tax, and B, Social Security has a $2.7 trillion surplus and can pay out all benefits for the next, I believe, 21 years. So whenever you hear these guys talking about the need to cut Social Security, understand that that is just a very dishonest statement. In terms of Medicare, this is what Ryan has in mind. And of course the goal is to cut Medicare and to put more of the burden for health care costs onto the seniors themselves. I mean, everybody understands this. Why do you advocate, why do you talk about Medicare and the need to go forward on deficit reduction if you're not going to cut Medicare? So, of course, that's what they have in mind. And here's what they want to do. What they are saying over a 10-year period, not tomorrow, what they are saying is that if you are 67, 68 years of age, we will give you a check, a voucher, for your health care needs. And I believe the number they're talking about is about $8,000. And with, Danny, with that $8,000 check, you can go out to any private insurance company you want and get the policy that you, the best policy you can. Now, they also want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which protects seniors and anybody else against discrimination because of pre-existing conditions. So here's the story. You are a 67-year-old. You are a 70-year-old senior. You just came back from the doctor who told you you have cancer or some other serious disease. You're going to need a lot of treatment. You're going to need hospitalization. And you go walking into your local insurance company and say, here's my check for $8,000, and I hope that you're going to give me a policy which will treat me, which will help me as I get my cancer treatments or my heart disease treatments. And what is that insurance agent going to say to you? He's going to laugh in your face and say, are you kidding? We're not in the business of helping people. We're in the business of making money. Your $8,000 policy is a loser for us because we're going to have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on you. Why would we in a million years want your business? You know, go to somebody else. We don't want you. Nobody is going to want you. And then the next question is, what happens to that senior citizen with cancer or a heart disease? How do they get the care that they need? Well, two things happen. Number one, you got to go back to figure out how you can get the money. Maybe it's out of your own pocket if you have it. Maybe if you don't, it's your kids if they have it. And if you don't have the money and your kids don't have the money, well, I'll let you finish the end of that story. But it will be a tragedy. So, of course, they want to push the burden of health care onto individual seniors with substantially increased out-of-pocket costs.
Jim in Worcester, Mass. You're on the air with Bernie.
Hi, Jim here from Worcester.
You're on the air, sir.
Hey, Jim.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Oh, hi. First of all, two of the best talk show on the radio and the best senator in the Senate. I have a quick comment and a question about tariffs. I never hear any Democrats ever talking about the fact that when Romney became the governor of Massachusetts, he cut taxes in the tune of $100 million for the corporations, and he raised fees for all the people in Massachusetts to the tune of $100 million, like on fishing licenses, registrations for cars, so on and so forth. I never hear anybody talking about that when he claims he cut taxes here.
Well, I think it is very clear, Jim, that for folks like Ryan and Romney, their goal is, despite the fact that we have a grotesquely and growing unequal distribution of wealth and income, we have one family in this country, the Walton family of Walmart, owning more wealth than the bottom 40% of America, where the top 1% now owns something like 41% of the wealth of America, while the bottom 60% owns less than 2%. So we have enormous income and wealth inequality. And what these guys want to do, and if you watch that Tampa convention, the Republican convention, they're very closely, they got all these billionaires sitting there. And what do the billionaires want? With very few exceptions, they want to lower taxes for themselves and for their corporations. They want to make it easier to put their money in tax havens in the Cayman Island and in Bermuda and elsewhere. And they want to shift the burden of government onto the middle class and working families. It ain't complicated. That's what these guys are putting money into this campaign for. More tax breaks for the rich. The Ryan budget gives huge tax breaks to the rich, increases taxes for the middle class, makes savage cuts in the health care and nutrition programs and educational programs that working families depend upon. That's what the Republican platform is about, and it is not complicated to figure out.
John in Englewood, New Jersey, listening on our New York City blowtorch station WWRL. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Hi, Mr. Sanders. Pleasure to speak with you. Two questions. The first one is, with lobbyists, how do you get rid of this huge big corporation influence when the very people that have to vote to get rid of it are the ones that are being bought? And the second question is, with logic, you would think that we would just have the smartest people to create new technologies and invest with them. In other words, NASA. They've created technologies that have added trillions, literally trillions of dollars to business in our country. Why not? Why is that so hard for the Republicans to understand?
Well, they understand it very well. John, one thing I want to say about my Republican colleagues, these guys are not dumb, and people very often say, why don't they understand it? Why don't they understand the role that government, as John is saying, has played in spurring technology which benefits them? Don't they understand that if you cut Medicaid and you throw millions of kids off of health insurance, that is immoral and a wrong thing to do? Don't they understand it? And the answer is they do. It's just not their worldview. It's not just something that they stay up nights worrying about. Their job and their worldview is associated with the very wealthiest people in this country, and they look at the world from their perspective. In terms of lobbyists, what you're talking about is the enormous power that big money plays in our government every single day. And the key issue here is not just Citizens United and the fact that you have individual billionaire families pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into the campaign. It is the fact that they also provide and pay very handsome salaries to lobbyists all over Capitol Hill to fight for their interests. Ultimately, the goal of progressive politics has got to move back to one person, one vote, where billionaires do not have the kind of undue influence they have right now in virtually every major piece of legislation. Go down the list. Tax breaks for the rich, yes. Raising the minimum wage, no. Universal health care, no. But help for the private insurance companies, yes, etc., etc. What we need to do is not only overturn Citizens United, that disastrous Supreme Court decision, we need to move to public funding of elections to get big money out of the political process. That is one of the most important things that we can do to restore our basic democratic traditions in this country.
Jeremiah in Caraport, Pennsylvania. I hope I'm pronouncing your city's name right, Jeremiah.
Coalport.
Okay. Thank you for watching us on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes. In order to counter Citizens United, we need good talking points that resonate with the American people. I have some. No tax breaks for outsourcing, no welfare checks for oil companies. We can unite both of these under the bumper sticker slogan, stop the Republican war on the middle class.
Okay, let's get Bernie's thoughts on this. We just have 1 minute till the break, Jeremiah.
I think Jeremiah makes a very good point. We have introduced legislation, actually, to do away with all of the subsidies that the fossil fuel industry receives. And Jeremiah is absolutely right in saying that outsourcing is a huge problem. And let me remind the listeners that one of the reasons our middle class is disappearing is that over the last 10 years we have lost 60,000 factories in this country and millions of decent-paying jobs. And I don't believe you're going to see the kind of economic recovery that we desperately need unless we rebuild manufacturing in this country and demand that corporate America invest in the United States of America and not in China, not in Vietnam. And to do that, you're going to need some significant changes in our trade policies.
It is Senator Bernie Sanders, our Brunch with Bernie hour, taking your calls in our national town hall meeting. Brunch with Bernie here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Check out his website at sanders.senate.gov. You can check out our website at thomhartmann.com. Over there you can make your own blogs, participate in the message boards, participate in our chat room. It's all free.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of our national town hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie, right after this. And welcome back. Ron, watching us on Free Speech TV in Palmetto, Georgia. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders, it's an honor.
Thank you.
And, hey, my point is, I'll be brief. We need jobs in this country. I'm down here, and it's hard to find a job. Wouldn't breaking up giant monster mega banks create a lot of jobs? And we can work in other areas, too.
Ron, thank you for asking that question, and I agree with you. At the end of the day, jobs are the issue. Let's not forget that when George W. Bush left office, we were losing 700,000 jobs a month, which is just an unbelievable number. We have made some progress under Obama, but obviously not enough. And Ron is absolutely right that, in fact, we need to create in Georgia and Vermont and all over this country millions of decent-paying jobs. One of the issues, and George touches on this, is that we have a handful of large banks in this country. We have 6 large financial institutions that have assets of over $9 trillion, which is equivalent to two-thirds of the GDP of the United States of America. And clearly, one of the economic problems that we face is these banks are not lending money out to small and medium-sized businesses at a reasonable rate so that those businesses can grow and create jobs. But there are other areas that we can move on to create jobs in this country. I think Tom mentioned it earlier in the show, in that in Georgia, in Vermont, all over America, our infrastructure is crumbling. Roads, bridges, airports, rail system, well beyond what exists in Europe, Japan, China. We have many old schools that need to be rebuilt. Water systems, terrible. Really have to focus on water. If we put our people to work rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, we create millions of jobs. That's actually the fastest way we can create jobs. Makes the country more productive, more efficient. Second of all, in my view, we have to address the crisis of global warming, greenhouse gas emissions. That means transforming our energy system away from fossil fuels to energy efficiency and sustainable energies, wind, solar, geothermal, biomass. Just by making our homes and buildings more energy efficient, saving consumers money on their fuel bills, whether it's heating or cooling, we can create a significant number of jobs. If we are building the solar panels and the wind turbines here in the United States and installing them here, we create substantial number of jobs. And as I mentioned earlier, I think the third important area is trade. We have to reverse these disastrous outsourcing trade policies and get these companies to rebuild in America and expand our manufacturing capabilities. So I think, Ron, if we move in that direction, and you're right, breaking up these big banks is at the top of my list. They have too much economic and political power, and it's surprising how many conservative commentators now believe that when you have 6 banks with that kind of financial power, with that kind of economic power, with that kind of political power, it is time to break them up. We've got legislation in to do just that.
And it's not just banks. Since Reagan stopped enforcing the Sherman Act, it's virtually every industry, isn't it, Bernie?
Oh, absolutely. You have an industry. People don't realize this. In industry after industry, you may see different brands, whether it's cable television or whatever it is. You think, oh, this is a separate entity. It's not. They end up being owned by some very large mega corporation.
It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls. We'll be right back with more of your calls for Senator Bernie Sanders right after this. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls in our national town hall meeting. Robert in Albuquerque, New Mexico, listening on KABQ. You are on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
All right. It's a privilege to talk with both of you. However, I have a question regarding the Ryan plan regarding Medicare. I've been told, or I've heard that Ryan has defended it, saying that actually a person would still be able to enroll in traditional Medicare with his new revised plan. Is that accurate? Or
it is, Robert. Under the original Ryan plan that passed the House, my strong understanding is that was not the case. Now they're going to give people the option of staying in traditional Medicare or going with the voucher. The problem is they're going to have to use their $8,000 check to stay in traditional Medicare, and in fact that may not cover the cost of that program.
Yeah, doesn't that set up the same kind of ghettoization basically that you have where you have private and public schools competing with vouchers, and the private schools take all the sure. easy to teach kids, and the really hard to teach kids end up in the public schools. The really sick people would end up on Medicare.
Exactly. The sicker people will remain on Medicare. The cost of Medicare will go up. People will not be able to afford to stay in Medicare.
Right, and then they could say, okay, we got to kill this program off because it's freaked out. It's not working. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Patty in Happy Valley, Oregon. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for listening to KPOJ.
Hi, good to talk to you. Thank you for all you do. My question is, with all of the propaganda and pandering to minorities on the one hand, and on the other hand, they're suppressing voters aimed at minorities. So how do they expect to get votes on their side when they're coming at it like that?
You're talking about the Republican Party here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think, I think that Republicans and even some of their smart guys understand this, that in the long run, you are not going to be able to survive if you are an overwhelmingly just white party. If your politics kind of makes it clear that you don't have policies that are positive for African Americans, for immigrants, for Hispanics, and they worry about that. The way their antidote is, I suppose, as I understand that Romney is going to be spending a huge amount of money on Hispanic radio and television ads. But I don't think that will work, because I think many Hispanics and certainly African Americans understand what their policies are about. And obviously, from a socioeconomic point of view, many African Americans and Hispanics are at the lower end of the economic spectrum, and they understand that the Republican policies will be devastating to them.
Lee in Trumansburg, New York. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yes, Tom, Senator Sanders, I would like to know your opinion on why we still have the Patriot Act, and I guess basically that's it.
Well, you're talking to somebody who voted against the Patriot Act when I was in the House and helped lead the effort against it. You have it because, you have folks in this country who, under the guise of fighting terrorism, and terrorism is a serious issue, we have to be vigilant against terrorism. But under the guise of fighting terrorism, I think have made a significant attack against the civil liberties and the constitutional rights of the American people. Interestingly enough, Lee, on that issue, you have some conservative folks, people like Ron Paul and I, when I was in the House, working together to understand that, we've got to be vigorous in fighting terrorism, but you don't have to do it in a way that undermines the Constitution of the United States of America, and we can protect our civil rights and our privacy rights.
Okay. Rich in Sun City, Arizona, watching on Free Speech TV on Dish Network. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, hi, Senator. My opinion of this is that the American public doesn't seem to recognize that the Republican Party is in the beginning stages of establishing what, according to the dictionary, is a totalitarian government, which is one-party rule, not communism, one-party rule, as expressed by the man that defeated Dick Lugar in Indiana said, I'm going to Washington to establish permanent control by the Republican Party, as well as the autocratic government that's been established in Michigan in their emergency law. What do you think?
Well, I would look at it a little bit differently, Rich. The way I look at it is that these guys are in the business of working with the billionaires in this country who have been very aggressive in this campaign. We have documented at least 23 billionaire families who are spending at least $250,000 on this campaign. I think that underestimates the degree to which the big money is trying to buy this election. My worry, Rich, is moving toward an I would use the word oligarchic, not totalitarian. And the difference is that in an oligarchic society, what you have is a small number of very, very wealthy families who have not only enormous control over the economy, i.e. Wall Street and many other very large corporate entities, but also over the political process. And what Citizens United is about is giving these people, for the first time, the ability to really own the political process through unlimited campaign contributions. So I think what you may end up with is a Republican Party virtually totally controlled by millionaires and billionaires, and a Democratic Party also heavily influenced by big money. And that's the issue that concerns me very much.
And then a small number of oligarchs are basically running our country. I think we've got about 15 seconds. Oh, no, we don't. I'm sorry. We didn't even have that. Bernie, on that note, we'll have to leave it. Thank you so much for being with us again this week.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Tom.
It's always an honor to have you, Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders, you can check out his website at sanders.senate.gov. We will be back with Anything Goes Friday here on the Thom Hartmann Program.